Good morning to you. Welcome back to the Morning Minute Meditation. In the book of Acts, chapter number 26 and verse number 2, we read a verse from the Apostle Paul. To set the scene, the Apostle Paul has had great accusations laid against him by the Jews in regard to creating mutiny inside of the Roman Empire. The Apostle Paul has a death sentence sitting upon his head because of said accusations. An eloquent oratory has been made in regard to the Apostle Paul's conflict with the government. And now the Apostle Paul stands before King Agrippa. It is amazing how he opens his statement to King Agrippa. He starts in verse number 2 by saying, "I think myself happy, King Agrippa." I'm a happy man, glad to be here today. Isn't it amazing how that happiness most often is reflected by the happenings of our life? But you can be happy without having very grand happenings around your life. In the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11, the Apostle Paul talks about all of the difficulties he had faced. He had been whipped by 40 stripes save one on 5 occasions by the Jews. 3 times they had taken rods to his back. He had been stoned 1 time and left for dead. Thrice he had suffered shipwreck. A day and a night he said, "I was in the deep." This man had a cloud hanging over his head of bad and even worse things happening to him. But yet the Apostle Paul, with great positivity, could say, "I think myself happy." Happiness is a state of mind, not necessarily in regard to the happenings around you, but in how you want to approach life. Elvis Presley, 6 weeks before his death, was approached by a reporter. The reporter asked, she said, "Mr. Presley, when you started in the music, you said that you wanted to be rich and famous and happy. I have one question for you. Are you happy?" To which Elvis Presley responded, "I am as lonely as," and he used an expletive to describe how that he felt. Here was a man that was lonely and died in a very embarrassing way. Died in his youth, really, and went out into eternity. Most of you know, I'm in law enforcement, and it is in this time of year where we see an uptick in suicides and an uptick in domestic violence. Matter of fact, within the last 2 weeks, I have been on 2 different suicides where individuals have decided that they're at the end of their rope and have taken their own lives and gone into eternity. Can I say these individuals had reached a point where happiness was no longer a part of their life? If I were to ask you today, are you a happy individual? What would your answer be to me today? Consider these things and remember that only our happiness can come from the Heavenly Father and our rest in Him. Think on these things today. Have yourself a great cup of coffee and a grand day.